Hello, everyone. Welcome to the IBM Developer Channel. We're glad that you are able to join us today and learn about the call for code and spot challenge for a safer planet. We created this challenge to put AI to work for solving today's challenges and making our world more secure and resilient. I'm Julianna DeLua with IBM, and I'll be hosting today's session with Upkar later with the call for code. So let's get started, Upkar.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. Oh, sorry. All right. So as Juliana said, go ahead, Juliana.
Yeah, let's go to the next slide so we can talk about the call for code.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So Call for Code is the program we launched in 2018, where we asked 24 million developers across the world to take on big challenges like climate change, natural disaster, etc. Right. So we've had an amazing response since then. Over 400,000 people from over 179 countries took part in the challenge, creating more than 15,000 applications using different technologies and frameworks ranging from IoT applications, weather data, iOS, Android application, and of course, web-based applications as well. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. All right, so just to give you a little bit of history and the kind of applications that came out of Call for Code. Again, we started in 2018 with a focus on natural disasters, with teams building solutions for preparedness, mitigation, and recovery from natural disasters. So the winning team that year was Project Owl. So they created an ad hoc mesh network of Internet of Things devices based on long-range radio or LoRa technology. So using this network, people can send short messages to first responders, even if the cell network is down. So very, very practical application. In 2019, we added an additional theme of mental well-being of communities dealing with natural disasters. The winner this year was Team Prometeo, who I work with very closely. They created this wearable device to protect firefighters from the effects of toxic gases and smoke that are inhaled while they're doing their jobs. Right, 2020 started off with climate change, but because of the pandemic, we quickly pivoted to COVID-19 with a focus on crisis communication, remote learning, and supporting local communities. So the winner solution under this category was SafeQ. Now they built a mobile-friendly web application that requires no login to keep people safe in virtual lines instead of standing in line in stores. The global winner of this year was Agrily, and they built a platform to help farmers in emerging markets by providing information about weather patterns and crop characteristics, giving them advice on what would be the best thing to plant during certain times of the year. We also host the same challenge internally, and we had a very interesting winner and solution, Quireless, which is, or Rendomatic, I should say, the open source solution, which is an app that uses artificial intelligence to sync up a series of recording to bring together musicians from around the world. So you can see a lot of different kinds of solutions coming through Call for Code. In 2020, we also launched a challenge to fight racial discrimination. So IBMers who were frustrated about what was going on in the world, and especially in the United States, decided to get together and use technology to channel their frustration and combat systematic racism. So with the focus on, we had 3 pillars: focus on police accountability, diverse representation, and policy legislation and reform. IBM has released now 7 open source solutions under the Linux Foundation. So again, to give you a little bit of a history, context, and different kinds of solutions that have come out of Call for Code. We can move on, please. Thank you. So again, as Juliana mentioned, we are just launching the AI Spot Challenge for a Safer Planet. The idea here is to tackle sort of the big problems, to come up with solutions, and we have given you a couple of different ideas or categories here that you can think through and think about. Apart from this, if you go on to the next slide, please, Jim. Thank you. Now, again, this is definitely a very big challenge, right? And it's hard to know where to start. So to help you get started and spark some ideas, we are providing 2 open source solutions that use machine learning and artificial intelligence in completely different ways, but to attain the same goal of doing good and helping communities. So let me walk you through the 2 solutions that we have here in these starter kits for you. So the first solution that I want to showcase is Drone8. Drone8 is the winner of Call for Code Puerto Rico hackathon. The idea this team came up with was to create a machine learning model that recognizes
Call for Code Puerto Rico.
I'm sorry, I was hearing an echo for a second there. The idea is to create a machine learning model that recognizes call for help with standardized symbol languages, right? So drones are used to not only rapidly assess damages from the air in the case of natural disasters, but in this case, you can also use drones to capture images that can then be processed by AI computer vision systems. So the solution uses TensorFlow to train the models on a subset of icons provided by the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Human Affairs. So it's a very standardized set of icons that are recognized worldwide. The symbols can either be provided, as you can imagine, in a disaster preparedness kit ahead of time, or recreated manually with materials that somebody may have on hand. So people can just go out and draw these symbols. A drone can then survey an area for these icons placed on the ground and then plot them on a map. So you can use for this solution, the team used IBM's cloud annotation tool, which makes it pretty straightforward to annotate and train such a model. And then they also use IBM Cloud Object Storage as a persistence layer. Now, you can go to the GitHub that we have provided on this slide, and we'll also put that in the comments. You can run the application locally on your system and run the model in the browser, but you can also, we also give you a way to containerize the solution and run on a platform like Kubernetes or Code Engine. Now, the second solution that I want to quickly talk about is the Intelligent Supervision Assistant for Construction, or ISAC-SEMO for short, so that's easier to say. So this solution was built by developers at Build Change, which is an organization that helps prevent and minimize house damages after a natural disaster like earthquakes, hurricanes, etc. So the idea is to validate that the intervention work done for homeowners, after a disaster is done correctly, and the houses are safe for families to live in. Now, this solution provides a mobile application that is used to take photos. Literally, you take photos of rebars and wall installations, and then the application uses machine learning models to assess whether they are compliant or non-compliant. So, very cool application of machine learning and visual recognition. The machine learning models are trained both on artificially generated data as well as real-world images that have been processed, into the different variants or the different classes that can come out between the no and no-go buckets. The models are trained to check different things, including the shape of the rebar, the texture, the thickness of the brick, etc. So again, a very detailed, very practical project that you can go learn more about. You can go check out the GitHub repo. They are both amazing solutions to learn from, and then to extend for this challenge. All right, if you can go on to the next slide, please. So Julianna, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the judging, right? There are 4 equally weighted criteria. And as Upkar mentioned earlier, these 2 solutions serve as great examples for you to really look at it from the standpoint of these 4 dimensions. And first is completeness and transferability, right? How has this been implemented? Is this going to have an impact? And can it be transferable? Second is effectiveness and efficiency. Does the solution address the high priority areas? It's a big idea that we're trying to implement it. But not only that we start with the POC, we want it to scale. Third area is design and usability. How good is the design, right? What does the user experience look like? And how quickly can it be used? So there needs to be some trade-off between the completeness, and perfection almost, and being able to do this in a pragmatic way. Fourth area is creativity and innovation. How unique was the approach, right, to solving a long-standing problem or something timely, especially with AI. We look at it carefully about how are you using prediction? How are you using automation? How are you using optimization? And some of the capabilities that are on the Watson Studio will be used to address those. Next slide, please. The key roles, build a new solution for this challenge. So we'll be looking at it. There is a panel of experts that are looking at it, make sure it's a new solution that's been built. We are announcing it today, and between July 27th and August 18th is the period that you can work on, and they'll be made public through the open source code. And you can compete alone or as part of a team. You'll be able to look at it, the details, in the participation agreement, and then use the IBM Cloud, right? And the reason is that this will make it the playing field level, and you can see all the items on the catalog. And submissions must use IBM Cloud and at minimum Watson Studio. The reason is this is an AI challenge. There's another global challenge that's happening, and that would also have a requirement as an IBM. But now we want to see how you use AI for this challenge. So please get IBM account for this, or if you do have an IBM account, still go through this this link to make sure you pass all the eligibility. Next slide, please. And a little bit more on 2021 submissions. And submission form is actually available right now. This form, ibm.biz/submit AI spot. The reason that we recommend you look at that is to know exactly what's required, so you can plan ahead for the next couple of weeks, right? And then explore the participation agreement. This is where you see prizes, eligibility criteria, complete rules. And some of you might have things to work that have worked on. You can submit relatively quickly, or some of you might need a couple of weeks to refine it. So you can submit as quickly as you like, but feel free. But you can also submit again later using the same email address. So we will see it as long as it meets the deadline. And prizes for AI Spot Challenge, we'll be announcing those winners on IBM YouTube channel. Again, IBM Developer, this particular channel. The grand prize is $15,000 US. Run-up prize is $5,000 US, and second run-up is $2,500 US. So hopefully this can be used for some good cause, some personal projects. We don't define that, but just giving you some ideas about what you will get when you win the contest. Next slide, please. As part of this, it's a requirement for this particular AI Spot Challenge. You have to attend the AI Bootcamp, which is just starting next Tuesday at this time. The first session will be to discuss, how does data have to do with AI? How do we collect, organize, and catalog your data? So this is a foundational topic for AI. And the second session on August 10th, we'll talk about build and deploy AI across any cloud. So this is at the heart of AI. We'll talk about, how do we prep, how do we use automation. We have a capability called Auto AI to be able to build models automatically, being able to show some of the leaderboards, so you're able to experience that. And then the third session, Tuesday, August 17th, at the same time, you can also look at how do you scale AI with your apps and the processes. And then you can register for the session in this ibm.biz/YT planet. This is the link. And then another reason these 3 sessions are conducted live, you can ask us questions about AI or related to this particular AI Spot Challenge. So you can consider this lecture plus office hours. Next slide, please. And so, what we like you to do is to take these 4 steps, right? Sign up for AI Bootcamp and attend on August 3rd, 10th, and 17th. Step 2, register for the IBM account. Step 3, join the Call for Code community. So there's a Slack channel. There's an overall Slack channel. There's also AI Spot Challenge group that you can join to have your questions answered, or network with other participants, and then communicate with IBM mentors, and submit your solutions by August 18th, and then there will be a winner announcement on August 24th after the judging is completed. Next slide.
Yeah. So, Juliana, just to add to that, I see a question in the chat about is this strictly focused on code? And the answer to that is we are looking for a code and a working solution. You saw the judging criteria with the 4 criteria that we were looking at. But that being said, I absolutely believe there's a part, or there's a role to play for everybody, not just coders in this hackathon. And like Juliana said, if you join the community, the idea here is to create this community, bring like-minded people trying to solve big problems together. So I hope you come talk to us in the Slack channel, talk to other IBMers and SMEs that we have gathered for you. Sorry, Juliana, I just wanted to answer that question.
Absolutely, that's great. So let's start to wrap up here. Upkar, any additional comments about answer to the call?
No, this is great. So follow the 4 steps. As you saw on the slides, I'll be hosting some of the or 2 of the 3 classes that we have for you. A lot of exciting stuff. I hope we see you in Slack in the channel that Juliana mentioned. So again, I hope you join Juliana and myself in the Spot Challenge. Find us on Slack, right? Find us on Slack and come and say hi.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to reviewing your submissions. And this will conclude today's session.